Welcome, Matador families, to the school year 2020-2021. My name is John Grigsby, and this is Back to School Night. Your student will be in my Human and Social Development class this year. I'm very excited to have them. We wrote the curriculum for this about 4 years ago, and I think it's been a very important course to have in these students' lives, especially their early careers as students, to learn about themselves, learn about others, to engage in these courageous conversations. Now, as I mentioned, my name is John Grigsby. I also teach sports medicine here at Miramonte, as well as PE and Human and Social Development. I actually went to Northgate and Walnut Creek, where I studied, took my first sports medicine class as a junior, which is actually the class I now am teaching. I followed that kinesiology path to San Diego State, where I met my wife working at a restaurant together. Then we moved up here to Miramonte, and I've been working here for the past 15 years. And this is my family right here. I've got 2 young daughters. They're in kindergarten and 2nd grade, and they are enjoying Zooming along with me. They're actually just in the back room right now. Now, the course outline. This is a foundational course providing essential knowledge and skills to enable your student to arrive at informed and healthy decisions in a complex and diverse world. We're going to help them make decisions a little bit easier, coming to the right conclusion after assessing, analyzing, getting as much research and data as possible. We're going to teach them to empathize, to walk in somebody's shoes before you decide who they are, what they are, and their identity. We're going to definitely be discussing digital citizenship, making sure that as these students are online, they're making appropriate choices with what they're putting out into the world. And utilizing local and relevant resources will be addressed in all instructional themes. Now, those instructional themes start with the brain. The reason we start with the brain is because once the students can understand the chemicals, the neurotransmitters that are firing inside of our brain, and how those anchor us in our perceptions of the world, the way we see the world, hear the world, feel the world, taste the world, touch the world, I just said feel, but smell the world. All those sensory perceptions are coming and anchored in the brain and creating memories, and those perceptions create part of our identity. So then we'll be addressing certain identities, the many characteristics that make up each and every one of us. Then we'll be getting into wellness, which is not only the physical aspect, the body, but also the mind, and having a healthy mental aspect to our life. We'll be discussing relationships, how to make relationships, maintain relationships, and healthily end a relationship, as well as recognizing those traits that might be unhealthy inside of our relationships, or maybe recognizing somebody else so we can step up and assist them if needed, give them the right information and the right resources to be able to get the help they need. We'll be discussing alcohol, nicotine, and other drugs, and how these chemicals, when they interact with the body's chemicals, have a bad interaction, so how they can be harmful to the brain and to the body. And then sexual health is also going to be addressed at the end of this semester. Now, when we are learning, mandatory attendance is expected. I'm hoping that your student is able to make it to class for any reason they can. Please just call the attendance office and excuse their absence. I'm expecting engagement. I know it's hard to stay on the screen all the time. That's why I'm usually up and teaching, so I'm okay if the students need to be up and learning. As well as I'll try to have some interactive games, fun things for them to get up and move around, some little activities that also are part of our learning piece, or the learning lesson that day. I'm going to be using, obviously, some live lectures. I'll have lots of videos embedded, diagrams. We have some anatomical models of the brain, human anatomy, as we're learning all these little aspects to our health class. We'll be using a lot of medical journal experts from around the world so that the students can see these valid, reliable resources and make sure that they know that when they're doing their own research to not just Google, pick a top site, but maybe actually delve a little deeper into the appropriate sources. We have some fun features on Zoom where we can do some polling, where I can ask some students some questions and we can get kind of a gauge of the whole class, how everybody's feeling. We have chat box responses to make sure the students are following along. They can individually private message me, or there'll be a share with everyone so we can see what people's thoughts are and how they're kind of coming across the information. And then we have some fun breakout rooms where the students can get in one-on-one or small groups and have some deep discussions, and I'm able to pop in, make sure the students are on task, as well as assist with any guidance. And then, since this is all kind of new to us, I will probably have something new tomorrow that I will be utilizing in class. Asynchronous learning is going to be happening on the student's own time. This is when they will log in as if they're really in class, and they're going to look on Canvas for any modules that I might have created. Here I might have some recorded lectures, some other videos, diagrams, the same exact stuff from synchronous, but the student will be self-guided. And this is where they're going to have to be resilient. They're going to have to be able to stay engaged, follow along, using the Canvas modules, be able to answer the little questions, and I'll provide feedback as soon as possible so the student knows that they're learning the information appropriately, especially since they're going to have to be learning some things on their own. Now, Mondays are pretty awesome. We've created this Academy cohort, so it's kind of like a homeroom. We're bringing in a small group of kids every single week to make sure that they're on task, make sure they have everything that they need, especially with the distance learning support, and also trying to create connections. We have these little chats, little breakout rooms, little activities, and we're trying to make friends. We're trying to let these kids have an opportunity, a place where they constantly are going, where they can actually not just sit and listen, but actually engage and open up a conversation with another student, learn a little bit more about them, their commonalities, so that they have this creative connection. We began this year with some racial equity lessons within these Academy cohort, which I think is a great way to start the year, to let our students know that we are attacking this racial equity head on and making sure that we're making a change in our schools, which will in turn evolve to the community, therefore eventually our state, our country, and our world. We can be a little piece of that puzzle to start kind of a ripple effect, spark the fire. Either way you look at it, I think now is the time that this needs to be addressed, and the students are doing a great job with this courageous conversation. Lastly is the constant communication and training. There's lots of little embedded trainings within this Academy cohort to make sure that all the students know how to access what they need to access, do what they need to do, and so we are there to help guide them. We've got their back. We're here to support them in whatever they need, and same thing for you parents. If you need anything, please let us know. Assignments, I'm not going to be giving too much homework since everything we're doing right now is at home, but there will be some little modules for the students to complete, kind of as I mentioned, on their own. So these are those asynchronous assignments. During synchronous classes, I'm just expecting engagement. I want your student to be answered in the chat box, which I look at the script at the end of the lessons. I want your student to be engaged in the breakout rooms. I want your students' screens on, mics unmuted as soon as they need to share anything. And then we also will have some other little research activities with some responses and or some projects. I'll try to get some hands-on little art projects that the students are going to be doing. Obviously making sure that it's equitable, everybody has what would be expected of themselves at their house. So I need to be careful about what I assign, but some other projects might be some presentations, PowerPoint type of slideshows, so the student can maybe present, share their screen to the class as an expert on something that they researched. And then assessments, as I mentioned, the in-class engagement is key. The modules are going to be step-by-step. Once they complete those modules, I'm able to grade them, provide feedback as well as a grade. Presentations would be where the student will come up with some type of topic. I'll give them some prompts and they'll be able to develop some type of slideshow presentation or some other style. As I mentioned, some other projects that we can be doing, building, creating things with our hands so that we're not just stuck on the electronic devices. Coots and Quizlets will be played during class, so I'm okay if the student has their phone nearby. Obviously, I'd like them not to be on it, texting and doing some other things. Staying engaged with our class, but I'll pull out a game and they'll be able to use their phone so they can still watch the lesson, but be able to play together with their classmates. I have a bunch of Google Form quizzes, which may be able to be transferred to Canvas as more modules, but keep in mind I might just be having some short form quizzes for the students to complete so that they know that they're following along and we're ready to add on to what we already begun and get a little deeper into the conversation. And then some case studies or some real life studies about people that they've gone through so we can understand a little bit more about mental health, about brain injuries, about addiction, about sexual health, and some other topics within our categories that we're learning about this semester. Once again, communication is going to be key. If you need to get a hold of me, Canvas, links to my AUHSD email. Here it also is on the screen is jgrigsby@auhsdschools.org. This is going to be probably the best way to connect, especially as we're having some technical difficulties with Zoom or Canvas, whatever it might be. Gmail hopefully will still be up and running most of the time, and if it's not, we'll use those other avenues. So I recommend making sure for the Zoom room setup, your students are already doing an amazing job, cameras are on, students are engaged, participating. I really don't need to share this slide, but just if it's out there, quiet space. I ask the students not to be on the couch and not to be in bed. I don't want them associating the stress of school with those comfort zones. So please, please, please try to encourage them to be sitting in a chair with a desk so that they're kind of sitting up and not too relaxed where it's very easy to get distracted and disengaged. Try to create a schedule similar to if we were at school so that student is waking up, getting some breakfast, getting ready, logged in, And then each day is kind of set up if you want to put it in the bathroom, kitchen, fridge, whatever it might be. But having that schedule written out, because we're all learning it a little different. We had to learn block schedule, and now we have to learn this new distance learning schedule. So until it's kind of second nature, I recommend having some type of whiteboard or printout of that schedule. And then communication. I'm here for your student. I'm here for you. If I can help in any way, please, please, please let me know. And we can accomplish great things together. And with that, we usually end all of our meetings with a Go Max! So thank you very much for joining us this evening at Back to School Night, Miramonte 2020-2021.